will be talking technology today, and I would like to start with one survey that Honeywell conducted in January 2024, this year. Across the globe, alone 1,000 of retailers, transportation and logistic companies, and also warehouse operators about their priorities for 2024 and beyond in technology. And actually one and the most important strategic priority was differentiation of customer experience through technology. Not surprisingly, the second one, which had pretty much the same weight and number of responses, was cost controls and productivity of supply chain. Again, there's many emerging technologies that can address both issues, and we will have a discussion today with our subject matter experts on this matter for Middle East specific view. And I would like to start with our first question that I would like to address to all of you about the greatest drivers, the main drivers that determine whether you deploy a new technology or not. And Rob, if you don't mind, can you highlight your point of view on this question?
Yeah, with pleasure. I guess it's one of two reasons, really. One is you have to. I'm sure everybody in this room has been in a position in their businesses where you kind of have no choice. You know, you're on technology that's becoming redundant for whatever reason. Your suppliers won't support it anymore. You know, you really have got, you're on a burning platform, as we tend to call it. But the other reason for me is the more exciting one, which is that there's some sort of gain. You know, it has to be a very tangible, measurable benefit to why you're going to go through what is usually a significant amount of upheaval and usually some kind of slump to cope with before you deliver the project. So, you know, whether it's conversion gain, whether it's traffic gains, whether it's an efficiency gain in terms of a cheaper solution that does the same thing, or what we tend to find, you know, in recent years is that you kind of have to do something because your technology is becoming redundant for one reason or another. And rather than just replace it with something that does the same thing, you look for an improvement at the same time of doing something that you kind of have to do. So, you know, we're in that situation at the moment with our e-com stack. We've essentially faced into an issue where it's no longer fit for purpose. You know, it was designed primarily, you know, through the COVID era. And it's now supporting an estate which is far bigger than it was ever designed to support. And therefore it's beginning to, you know, creak at the seams and crack and break in places. So we have no choice. We have to do something. We can't just leave it. But instead of just looking for something that does the bare minimum, we're obviously looking to make great strides forwards. And the driving force for this particular project is conversion gains through a better customer experience, you know, lower engineering deployment necessities, being able to essentially deliver a better experience without the need to stand up massive teams of engineers. So there's resource implications in terms of efficiencies, but primarily the most exciting piece with the whole project is conversion gains. But that for me is it. It's a tangible improvement with a KPI that you can absolutely say after X months is going up or down. Simple as that.
I see. And Anish, what's your view on that?
Yes, I would second Rob on this point of, you know, so we do something which bring in some kind of gain to the business, you know. So for us, we'll focus more on the customer side of it. Does it bring any change in experience to the customer, or there is some other kind of, you know, efficiency gain or something on the service to the customer side, for example. So that's where now we are actually looking at technologies to solve some of the problems. I would refer to certain projects like that we recently went on a larger scale, which went out of a POC, and then when it scale is like self-checkouts and things like that, it did have its own challenges which we had to address as we implement it. So customer side is one, but at the same time we do have to look at solutions which would solve efficiency problems on the ops as well, you know, so which will improve our ability to respond to waste, response to, you know, availability of products. These two we look at the same time. These two are being prioritized by the business as well. So that's where most of our focus is, at least in the medium and the short term. That's where we are focusing on. And then we are also making sure that we don't do anything which is not measurable. So if we don't want to do projects for the sake of doing projects, and doing technology for the sake of technology, but we will definitely want to measure the outcome of it. So it applies to all, everywhere. So be the retail side of things or on e-com, while choosing technologies like marketing automation solution, which fits into the e-com platform, we make sure that it gives us value, right? So choice of product is also based on that.
I think one of the biggest traps is in today's age, there's so much technology around. It's not chasing rainbows. You know, how many people want to find a problem that a technology solution might address? It's the wrong way around. You know where your business needs to go. You know where your cracks are. You know where your breaks are. Look for technology that fixes a problem you have or fulfills a gain you want to make. You know, I've worked in many organizations where there seems to be just this inherent desire to run after a new shiny thing. And you spend your life just plugging in technology for technology's sake. You know, use what's right for you. Don't get distracted by bright lights and rainbows. And it's easier said than done. You know, there's so much tech out there that all professes to revolutionize your business. Your ability to zero in on finding things that are actually going to make a tangible difference actually is really hard. So that's, I think, a skill that most businesses need to really sort of hone in on, is that ability to decide what is rubbish and just, you know, sort of red herring stuff, even though it looks good on the box, and what actually is going to take you where you want to go and impact the customer experience. You know, if it's not doing that somehow, then why are you doing it?
Yeah.
Well said. So it's quite aligned with the global feedback that we had overall for priorities. But one question that I wanted to address, AYMAN, specifically to you. Of course, after COVID, we had big changes in supply chain and also a shift of customer demands, basically immediate gratification, as we can call it. So everyone expects immediate delivery, and technology was one of the main drivers for actually making retailers able to adapt to these changes. So I wanted to ask you which changes you implemented recently in your supply chain over these recent years after COVID to cope with these customer expectations.
Sure. So good afternoon, everyone. I believe what Anish and Rob mentioned regarding putting the customer first is something that we really believe in. So taking that into consideration, and post-COVID, we have decided to revolutionize the way we send products to stores, we send products to our e-com department and that business. Revolutionize in the way we deliver, in the way we fulfill, the way we allocate, and obviously the way we push stock that customers really want in stores. So we've deployed more than 260 robots across the organization, whether it's in our B2B fulfillment center, our center fulfillment center, or our e-commerce fulfillment center. So that's across all e-commerce and brick and mortar stores fulfillment. And this has led to increase of efficiency. Obviously, profitability is what every retailer would think about and would want. But given that we put the customer first, we wanted to go and achieve that speed to market. Today, we are able to send more than 150,000 items every single day to our stores versus 63,000 on average pre-COVID. Obviously, we've expanded, our stores have increased, and so did our volumes. But without the help of technology and robotics and a complete, fully automated back-end solution, we wouldn't have achieved that.
I see. Very impressive numbers, I need to say.
Thank you.
One of the other sources of differentiations, I think the way you serve your customers, especially in store, this is one of the things that retailers typically compete and differentiate. And Anish, I would like to ask this question to you. Basically, what do you see as the key sources of differentiation for customer experience through technology?
Yeah, so if we are in a business where we cater to departments which sells on its own, and then where you need to actually sell as well. Two aspects of it. So if you look at the department store supermarket, it sells on its own. If you have a good display, good range, it sells on its own. Only thing that you have to address is make sure that the checkout is as seamless as possible, make it as frictionless as possible. So that's one area we looked at. That's how we picked up the solution called self-checkouts, where customer can, at their will, they can go check out easily. But there is another part of our business, which is basically TCG, department store, everything else, where you need some sort of selling that has to happen. An agent has to be attending to them. So we are trying to empower these agents with enough information to actually cater to those customers' queries, basically clienteling. With the latest tech that is available, we can even enable payments on those devices. So that's how we want to address that area. So we feel that that will bring immediate value in the department store, TCG, and things like departments like that. So two different approaches within the same floor is something of interest to us. And then we see great future into doing those. And yes, we do also plan to introduce the self-scan facilities, again, addressing the problem of how to make checkout as frictionless as possible, is by introducing self-scan solutions. Currently, we are getting into the POC stage to do those. It has been there for quite some time, but in this part of the world, it took some time to get popularized. So in certain cases, it's good to be a follower than a leader. So similarly, I would look forward to your comments on RFIDs. So I have also thought about RFIDs, but what is the best use case for us? It's something that we're thinking. So we've seen videos where RFID implementations are creating waves in customer experience, basically on the checkout space. But the work that has to be done to get to that stage it's quite huge. So in that we are taking a waiting game at the moment.
I see. And very good feedback, and happy to see adoption of all these technologies in modern retail and hypermarkets. And switching gears to, I would say, advanced and new technologies. So a lot of things we hear about AI, advanced analytics, like supply chain modeling, and like digital twin of supply chain. I know that, AYMAN, you tried some of these technologies in your supply chain, and also addressing both supply chain efficiency and also customer experience topic. Can you expand a little bit on how we use?
Absolutely. So when we look at the journey, we look at the whole journey rather than the last bit of the chain. So we start with demand planning. So we've got our OTBs fully automated. A lot of AI is embedded in our systems today, where we forecast demand based on customers' behavior. And then again, based on trends, based on future openings. And then obviously, after demand planning comes in store replenishment. So the way we sort our goods to stores is all based on a pull strategy rather than push one. So we only push what we pull, meaning we only push products where we pull data from the customers or from the stores. So whatever stores sell are pushed again to the same store. And how do we do that? So today, we collate data from more than 105 stores across the 6 countries of operation in the GCC where we operate. When we do that, we look at things globally. The systems live allocate a product. And this live allocation happens when we take into consideration different metrics, such as the best probable store to sell that product, the flip or stock turn of that category in that store, or whether that SKU has really performed well, or similar SKUs, again, based on a lot of image recognition, which again throws into the product catalog, which again throws into what we will have the most probability to sell in the stores. So having said that, with all that AI being enabled, we are able today to live allocate a product to the right store. So today, when you pre-plan the right way using AI, then you sort, replenish the right way using AI, and then you replenish in the store using RFID, and then again, that reaches your stocks, your shelves. Then you would only be able to reach the customer as fast as possible with what they want in the right channel at the right time, which obviously increases your revenue and decreases your cost.
I see. Yeah, this is the smart way to approach that, but I'm wondering, Anish, for the hypermarket space, do you use some kind of technologies like that, where you have a broad portfolio to present in the store as well?
Yeah, so I believe, I mean, your challenge will be much more tougher because of the category that you're dealing with. But if you look at supermarket, for example, it's quite...
I wish it was easy as yours.
It is correct. So it is fairly straightforward. Now we have recently introduced loyalty, right? So we now know, which customer takes what, and it is more predictable than a fashion line is, right? So in that way, we're blessed. We do have technologies in place with the data lake, with the CDP, with the customer engagement platform, which is plugged to the CDP. So we have all those in place, which is helping us to do more and more personalization. So if you look at Lulu, it used to be mass market, and we used to do marketing in the same way. So it used to be wide open, but now we are getting into those space where we try and channel products which the customers want. So they will see what they want. It's more and more personalized, getting into that hyper personalization mode as we speak. So across multiple channels, we also have those. The same learnings are being taken into the supply chain as well. So while they're ordering, the same input is taken. Yeah, so we have that systems in place already. So there is no business without knowing what sells, and what you potentially would sell. Yeah.
Personalization in hypermarket sounds like a very difficult task to me, but
it is quite some bit of work to be done, I'm sure.
Yeah, a lot of work still to do. I think truth is businesses have got AI they have had AI running all over the place for many years. It's only since ChatGPT's become a thing that everyone's talking about it in a sort of new capacity as if it's just been invented. But AI's been around for a long time, and if you look across your business, you'll see it all over the place. Is it doing what it's supposed to do? Is it optimized? Is a different question. But the art of personalization has been around since the days of direct mail. It's not a new concept. So I'm a bit old school when it comes to AI. And again, we don't have AI work streams where the question is, what are you doing with AI? We have work streams, which is what are you doing to improve your business, and is AI a component that can help you achieve that goal? So yeah, I think AI is dangerous on so many levels. It's exciting, and it's certainly going to be revolutionary if you get it right. But it's another one of those really big opportunities to go chasing things that ultimately won't matter in the name of technological expansion. So I think the advice I'd give, and the advice that we're trying to take ourselves, is look at what you've already got. Use the tools that you have. Make the best of what's already sitting around you before you go start trying to implement brand new pieces of AI technology, because chances are there's still a load of breaks. Product personalization, recommendations. How many people in this room can say that your recommendations engines are absolutely brilliant? Fantastic. Truth is, if they were, you'd probably be making 10, 20 basis point increases in conversion all over the place, certainly when it comes to fashion. So I think we're as a business very focused on some specific, beautiful basics, if you like. I want to make sure that we're getting all of our basic customer experience deliverables absolutely bang on before we go charging into new realms of AI in its new capacity in terms of generative AI, I think, is the new thing. But you can separate generative from what is essentially just good tech and good working practices which have been around for a long time. Analytics is still analytics, whether it's advanced or not. Data is still data, whether it's big data or not. These are not new things. These are just buzz terms that people have created to make them feel new. But actually, the art of doing good business is the same as it ever was.
It's very much embedded into...
I sound really boring.
It's very much embedded, isn't it? So, embedded into anything that you do in one form or the other. Analytics, like you said, it can be advanced or normal, whatever.
It's cutting through the noise, isn't
yes.
it? There's so much noise around these days with things that sound new and shiny, and they're just not. They're just new iterations of something that you've probably already got somewhere. So again, that ability to zero in.
So me coming from IT, it's a different experience with the Gen I part. At least, it was interesting. At least from we had a solution which was running on, let's say, Silverlight, which got sunset back in 2022, 2021. It's still working, but we can't really do much of the thing. So I wanted to guide my team on, how to go. How do I transition from this solution to something else, which is. So that's when I came across this ChatGPT thing. So then I went online and said, I do have a solution which is created in so-and-so, like Silverlight. What is the best way forward? So surprisingly, it just came up with recommendations. Okay, you use this library from X software, and it will do the same job. And then I said, how do I do that? How do I create a rectangle out of it? So then it started giving me codes. That was an amazing use case. Depending on which part of the business you are in, I think there are use cases which will improve the way we work. That's on the analytics side, I didn't see much of a use case, but at least these kind of activities, at least for the programmers, it's like heaven.
The key is to remember that what goes, these systems are only as good as the information you're giving them, right? I won't use crass language, but you put something in and you get something out. So you have to make sure that your focus isn't just on what sits on the top. A really good AI system is only as good as what it's being fed. And if underneath all of that tech, you've got bad data,
then you're done.
Then it doesn't matter what you've got sitting on the top, it's still going to be useless. So if you've got a work stream in your business which is focused on a great recommendations engine, but you're not addressing the underlying problem where you haven't got the right flags on your product data and your PIM is useless, then you may as well not bother.
Yes.
So you've got to attack things in the right way. Correct. Using AI to generate good product data, using image recognition and meta stuff, that's interesting because then you can fix the data problem as well using AI.
That would be great.
You just got to, it's common sense. I think it's common sense anyway.
And this discussion actually leads me to a next question. What are the greatest challenges you see in the implementation of these technologies? And Anish, I think from your environment, your operations and number of workers, you have the biggest one. Typically from our survey that we had, the feedback is that actually it's repulsion from the staff. Is this something that you feel as well?
I think most of the people in the room would agree to that. I mean, change management is the biggest problem while you introduce something new, right? So I believe that it's the same for us as well. Both cases, depending on the kind of solution that you're trying to do, either the resistance can come from the customers, or even the in-house guys also, so ops also. Both cases, different. Yes, change management is a challenge. But it is not something that we can't really solve. We just take a little bit more time to. That is the only thing, So.
And interesting that you highlighted also a customer learning.
Yes. So I talked about making the checkout more frictionless, right? So in a service-oriented region like UAE or all of GCC for that matter. So when you introduce such solutions, there are resistance, but there are certain countries which are ahead, but we see amazing adoption for anything that is new. Initial days, yes, there are concerns, but super response from UAE in particular leads the way, and then the rest of the GCC for that matter. So that's why we are confident in investing in certain technologies which we spoke about. They're not cheap, they are super expensive, but it does bring in value for our customers.
Mhm. I see. I'm wondering counterless stores, how they will be adopted in the region, considering that. And you had this experience with counterless stores. If basically the seamless checkout is a big topic for
Yes.
the hypermarkets, and I know that you had a pilot with this technology. If it is not confidential, in which country it was?
It was in Qatar.
In Qatar.
Yeah, it was.
Did it really work?
Good question.
Yeah.
So it does work, but you need some.
You can just tell us if it really worked. You don't really need to.
It works, but there is caveat to it, right? So there are disclaimers to it.
Okay.
So if the payment, I'm sure a lot of payment guys are there in the room, right? So if the payment ecosystem works like US, for example, it works super good.
So it didn't really work.
Yes.
Okay.
Let's say. Yeah, you're right. If it worked, you would have seen that across the UAE.
Yeah, so I think it needs some time, but
At least from us, I mean, yeah, it needs some time, you know. So for the regulators also to help us with it, there are more assistance on the debit card side. Whenever it comes to debit cards, unlike UAE, other regions do see, you know, there is quite a bit
but
of
as we
regulations
discussed,
that we have.
the AI and machine vision, right? I think
They're
these
good.
things
They're great, but as good as how the other players in the ecosystem would work. For example, our problem was with payments using debit cards rather than credit cards. Was like that's easy, but debit cards did create a problem. But at the end of the day, the question he asked me, did it work? I cannot beat around the bush. No, it did not. You know, but yeah, we are learning. We are trying to work on it, and you know, trying to understand different perspectives from it.
interesting insights.
I think certain technologies need to be more mature in order for us to really utilize it. I mean, using AI for the sake of using it without really having that benefit to the customer, that benefit to the organization, then it makes no sense, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm considering that you COO of BFL Group and obviously the backend operations, which is one of the main source of the impact of the customer experience. In your experience, which areas of the back-end operations impact the customer experience the most? And maybe you can highlight some technologies that address these challenges on the back-end.
Sure. So I think the most factor that impacts the customer is the product itself. So with pricing, I think given the brands for less model, it's pretty much very straightforward. You get that saving, whether it's 60% or 80% of that retail price. So the customer knows what to expect when he or she enters the store. So I think the most impacting factor would be the product. So if you send the right product to the store, it will fly off the shelf.
Mm-hmm.
That's the brands for less model. And the whole brands for less ecosystem is built on stock turns. How fast you can really turn that stock in the store. Given that the price is fixed, meaning you have that expectation of 60 to 80% discount, you only have to rely on the product. And of course, convenience. So product, and I go back to how we really allocate products to stores. So using AI, and then we use AI considerably well, because we know how it fits the purpose at the end of the day, how it affects the customer positively. We have it embedded in the planning systems and replenishment systems. So today, I don't expect that sending a woman's tank top to Saudi would work the same way it works in UAE. Actually, it doesn't work. Not as well, it doesn't work. Given the culture, given the market dynamics, given the customer demographics, it doesn't work. So if we don't rely on, again, recommendations from the systems, automation, AI, that tells you this product will not sell because it hasn't sold in the past, it hasn't done well in store A, in that area, in that region, don't sell it again, then we would be sending the wrong product, and then obviously our stock turns will reduce. When that happens, obviously your profitability is impacted because your exit margins get impacted. And obviously you'll have to send the wrong product, and then obviously the customer will no longer visit your store. So at the end of the day, it impacts the customer, your footfall, your conversions, and your business. That's how we look at things.
Yeah.
I hope I've answered your question.
Yeah, you actually touched the right point, and I expected something like that, but from different angle, from e-commerce, because that's where the customers, especially in fashion industry, ordering more than they need to test, try, and then return. And I think overall, what you highlighted is big, very valid on the big scale, and I'm surprised that such advanced technologies, including AI, is used on that. But overall, I think the one of the key problems for fashion industry, especially with a big portion of e-commerce transaction, are reverse logistics, handling the returns. And from our experience, this is also one of the most expensive areas to deal with, because you need to return the product and then to basically repack it, allocate it back to the store. And Rob, from your experience in Alshaya, obviously the fashion retail and big e-commerce player in the region, how do you deal with these problems? And did you find any ways or technologies or approaches that can optimize this area of operations?
Yeah, look, I think this region is still quite a way behind Central Europe with this kind of thing. You know, e-commerce is still relatively nascent out here compared to Central Europe, although we're catching up, and in many ways I think we're already more advanced. You know, mobile commerce out here is certainly a much bigger deal. Social media is completely different. The delivery expectation is completely different. You know, here if you haven't got it same day or next day, you lose your temper, whereas in the UK it's still quite commonplace for 3 to 5 days standard delivery to be a thing. But in the UK and in Central Europe, online returns and, you know, free returns as a thing has been a part of the e-commerce 101 set for, you know, at least a decade, if not more than a decade, more like 2. Whereas over here, online returns are still, you know, much more nascent. So we are rolling it out across all of our brands in all of our markets. You know, I believe that from a customer point of view, you have to have it. It shows you have faith in your product if you're prepared to put your money where your mouth is and say, if it doesn't work for you, send it back. You know, no questions asked type thing. We're lucky in that so far we are not seeing anything like the returns rates that I was used to seeing when I worked in London. You know, in London in fashion, 25-30% returns is perfectly normal. And if you're talking about markets like Germany, you know, it can get into the 40s and even the 50s pretty quickly, and that's perfectly normal. So we're lucky that we're nowhere near that. We're still in sort of single figures. But again, rather than focusing on the technology around reverse logistics, et cetera, while it's right to have a good, clean operation and make sure it works, why are people returning stuff? You can't stop people ordering 2 different sizes, same color, or 2 different colors, same size, because they want to work out what they want to keep. And, you know, that's always going to be a thing for e-commerce. It's just the way of the world. But if people are sending stuff back because the size is wrong, fix your size guides. You know, look at your product descriptions. Are your images accurate? Are the colors right? You know, are people sending something back because it's not what they thought it was when they saw it on the screen? And again, not enough focus, I think, in many businesses is on that piece. It's all just on, you know, how do we make the logistics side of things more efficient, rather than how do we make the customer experience better to control the influx in the first place. So again, our focus is going to be absolute in terms of understanding, as the online returns piece becomes more commonplace, how to keep it to a minimum, as well as optimizing the process when things do come back, and the natural journey that you need to take with regards to, you know, either writing stuff off or returning it to a pick face and putting it back on sale. But yeah, again, that beautiful basics piece. Ask yourself the question, why did it come back in the first place? Move your reasons around on the documentation that your customer has to fill in, because, you know, people are inherently lazy. They'll just check the first thing on the box. Didn't like it. So move things around. See if they continue just to check the first thing, or whether that really is the driving reason for why something keeps coming back. There are always patterns. AI can help spot the patterns, of course, but address the patterns.
Yeah, very well said. With that, we run out of time. I would like to thank all the panel for sharing insights. on their technological and operational issues and how to address this. And thank you for your attention to our session, and have a good rest of the day. Thank you.
Thank you, Roman. Thank you, everyone.